Yeah. Good day, good folks. Another Hump Day Real Estate with Kendall. And we got a special guest here tonight. He was on 8 months ago. We're gonna see how things are ramping up in the Baltimore housing market and the Baltimore flipping market. Who do we have here today?
So my name is Joseph Jones. I am a
Joseph,
realtor, rehabber, and landlord in Baltimore City.
Joseph. So the last time we were on, we didn't get to talk long because you were trying to close up a deal. So tell us how did you start this journey? What has been about 5 years?
I've been in real estate since 2016.
Gotcha,
So
gotcha. Yeah.
2016. And how did I get started?
So
I got
almost
started.
7.
Yep. I got started because I was gifted a house, to be honest. I was gifted a house that I grew up in that was free and clear. And that prompted me to want to start to get into real estate from that point on.
Now, with that being said, you stayed pretty much in the community where you grew up and found deals, right?
Absolutely.
Now, how tough was that though? Whether you were there, or what do you think about that?
How tough was it to find deals in my area?
Yeah, do you think it was easier because you were from the area, or do you think, what do you think about that?
It was definitely easier because I was familiar with the area. Growing up in the area you're investing in, I mean, I would imagine it could only be easier because you know the community, you know the streets, you know the neighborhoods. You got a good feel for what you're getting into, which could ease the anxiety when you're investing, because there could be a lot of anxiety, anxiety when you are spending large amounts of cash if you're not used to it. So having that familiarity with the area it does ease, and it is a lot easier.
But one of the things that I like to pinpoint with your situation, and it's kind of weird to me, do you agree that maybe it was the vibration you were on, that you were already got that first house in the community, and then you went gun-ho with looking for other deals, and you found deals right around the initial property that you had?
And what was the question?
So you jumped into business, but it was, I think, do you agree that was kind of like a vibration that took place, that when you jumped in, you went gun-ho, and then all of a sudden you got deals right around the property that you had initially started out with?
Absolutely. I mean, once you have one deal in your area and you're dealing with similar looking houses, it gets easier from that point, because you know the area, you've done deals in that area, so you know the numbers for those houses if it's a similar house, and you really just keep an eye out for any houses coming to the market and that's being sold in that market, which it all makes it all relatively more easier the more familiar you are with what you're doing in investing. So yeah, it definitely was.
So when you were out hunting, just because you were hunting in that neighborhood and you had your eyes and ears open, it seems like the deals just came to you, because the deals that you got were deals that I was like, there's nowhere in the world this guy just jumped in here and then he gets deals like right in his backyard.
Yeah. Um, you know, having a deal in the area, it draws me to the area. Having two deals in the area is going to draw me more to the area. So I'm physically in the area. I'm looking for deals in the area. Since I'm familiar with the area, I'm familiar with some of the people that are in the area. So I'm also keeping, my ears to the streets, so to speak, about who's selling, who wants to sell, which property is a rental property, things like that. So you just get involved with the community, so just being more grounded in the area that you are investing in definitely helps.
And in the seven years, you really only done deals in that general area, right? You started to look outside the area, but you've only really done deals in that general area.
Right. Right.
So what are you? What's so right now? So we wind fast forward. Let's see which way I want to say this. So you're looking back at when you started. Would you do anything different?
Um, yes, I would personally. Yeah, I would.
But can you elaborate on that?
Sure. So my plan was to my my plan was to build a rental portfolio that had enough cash flow to support any holding costs with a flipping business. And I did that. I gained enough rental properties to be able to afford the holding costs on two or three flips that I did. What I would do differently is I would take what I did was I took the money from the flips and I paid down on my rental properties. What I would do differently is I would have taken the money from the flips and used more of my own cash to get deals to eliminate the use of hard money financing to have a bigger profit margin with my flips. I would do that differently, yes.
Got you. So it would have made a little bit more sense to accumulate the profits from the flips back into the flipping business on the monthly income basis, which is take care of the holding costs. Then later down, maybe when when several times one of those flips Jojo, you still there? Somehow my connection just dropped.
Yeah,
There we go.
mine did too.
Gotcha. I don't know what it is, this internet service and my cellular service has been crazy lately. But what I was saying was, what was I saying? What was I saying? Um, so in the mix of you uh taking that money, once you had that lump sum of money, if you build it up so much, you probably would have still had enough to go out and still pay almost cash or full cash for your deals, and at some point shutting down of those.
Correct.
Had you let that that time lapse before you actually maybe jumped in, because I think within what most people it, and then at some point, is that's possible?
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Yep, I can hear you.
Okay. I didn't hear your last question at all.
So you do, yep, can you hear me?
Barely. It goes in and out.
You look a little stuck on the screen, but I can hear you.
Oh, well, that's what counts.
At the end of the day, you would have, then you would have probably had enough to, at some point. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with this internet. I don't know what is. I do not know what's going on tonight.
I've had a bad connection all day.
Never had. You have?
Yep.
Must be something going on in the area. That's crazy. Well, if you can hear me, so long story short, there's possibility that you could have kept kept start to take and pay off your investment properties.
Barely heard you.
I think that's what you kind of was saying, right?
I barely heard you.
I can hear you now.
Okay. A long story short, basically what I did do is I was
So
taking.
can you hear me at the moment?
Yeah, I can hear you right now.
So can you hear me?
Yep.
So what would so now you were looking at another area for a while. You started to go out into that uh East Baltimore County area. What intrigued you to start to look out that way?
Less and less deals, less and less opportunities in the areas that I was comfortable with.
Did you did you find some there?
Just the ARVs made sense for what kind of level of renovation I was going to do. The ARV was high enough for me to be able to purchase it and do the kind of flip that I wanted to do and still make a profit.
And those townhouses are pretty much about the same sizes as the one you're already doing, right?
Yes, but some townhouses on the east side of Baltimore are just built a little differently. Um, so there's definitely the different nuances to it. Porches may be a bit bigger, backyard maybe a bit skinnier. You know what I'm saying? So the houses do have their differences, correct? Yeah.
Gotcha. Now this picture behind me, what property was this? How what the where were you in the process when you did this deal?
So this was the
You remember?
rough-in stage. No, this was the demo stage. Yeah, this was the demo stage where we was actually just started or actually finishing up demo. And it looks like we did some framing, as a matter of fact. So no, we're actually in the framing stage here. So this is just after demo, framing,
Now,
and yeah.
now do you know how many flips you've done by the time you got to this particular deal?
I would say about 5 or 6.
Gotcha. Gotcha. And so the folks, because all over it, everywhere, just like I think it's Ohio, Detroit, Ohio, or some of the other states. There's a bunch of different states, and I think even Chicago, states that everybody
Mhm.
talk about into and trying to get into flipping, investing, holding. What's your take being from Baltimore?
What's my take on out-of-town investors getting into Baltimore?
Yeah, yep.
My take would be that oh, that's a good question. So let me see. My take would be for out-of-town investors getting into Baltimore is to know the areas. You may have some cheaper homes, and I mean really cheap homes here that are not common in the country. With that being said, the house is so cheap, but the areas is so ran down, it's not going to be worth the investment, right? So it's not all about going for the cheapest house or coming to the area with the cheapest house because you can't over renovate and your investment won't be worth it. Um, so I would definitely watch out for that. I think that's something that if you're not from Baltimore, you won't understand why this house is so cheap, in this particular area. So that's definitely something I would say watch out for. And knowing the area that you're investing in Baltimore, because Baltimore is very block to block. Not every city is block to block like ours is. So that can be very unique about our city.
Yeah. That's the number one thing I try to tell folks all the time. I get people to call me and they say, "Hey, I want to go. I saw a house for 5,000." I said, "I know you did, and you're probably going to see that house for 5,000 for a while because there's the person that buys it is probably not going to be somebody that understands Baltimore housing prices and areas and all of that stuff. It's going to be
Mm-hmm.
somebody from out of town who's basically going to lose the money."
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of horror stories out there, folks buying for $5,000, uh, and especially off of auctions and stuff, and or tax lien sales, which is the worst. People go and spend their money on tax lien sales, never went past the property, ends up gaining ownership of the property after spending 10, 15, $20,000 to find out there's no back wall.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
and and a neighborhood that nobody's going to move in, even for a low rent.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of craziness that I think that folks, that everybody wants to get into something cheap. I say not be cheap. You know, the greater we risk, the risk, the higher reward. But sometimes you got to be smart about that risk taking. Well, all the time.
Absolutely.
We need probability, not possibility. You know,
Absolutely.
and I think you have done a good job with creating probability. I mean, like I say, when I heard you say that you were getting the flips, I'm like, hey, I'm not touching that with a long pole. But you got in and you showed me with a different mindset and the will to perform. You know, you can get in and you can make money in this thing. And
Mhm.
yeah, it's very surprising. Like I say, it just seemed like it was the vibration that you were on. That man, we couldn't find any deals in the area. And then all of a sudden, you start bouncing around. You get one deal, you get another one, and the sweet deal that you did was the rental that you have. Is that that property that you got for at the auction,
Ah,
and
yeah.
probably nobody wanted to touch it, huh?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
nobody wanted to touch it because they, you know, it had a owner still in the property, and then you go, the owner's gone.
Yep. Yep. I remember that deal. So,
The
so I
owner's
come
gone.
across those
You
deals.
close on it,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
but those are the ones. Like it's when you go into something like a baby, right? You're curious. You just wanna you try it. You
Mm-hmm.
don't know what the outcome is going to be, but those are the ones. But you didn't go and chase after something that because it was $5,000, right?
Correct.
You went after something that made sense, something in an area that you know about, and then you went to risk it.
Mm-hmm.
And the only risk was, is this person gone by the time I take this deal that's for surely a deal? So that then I don't have to spend 3, 4, 5 months trying to get them out.
Yep.
And you
Yep.
did it with everybody else what was scared to do and got the deal done and was closed it. So that I applaud you on. And I hope that people, when if they see this, they can understand what type of risks you know you should be taking. Not just going after something like you said that's cheap. I've been preaching that for I don't know how long. Like, why you everybody go, come, I see it for 5,000, 10,000. I say, okay, well, you might as well just give it to me and I put it in my pocket and just walk away. Just give it as a gift. This give me the gift. Ain't no need for me to go show you a house. And I bet you know we can't make much commission off of that, right?
Right.
So just give
Right.
it to me. Then you have an attitude because you gave me money instead of giving it to somebody else, the city, and then go in and cost you even more money because there's no walls. And once you get a price, what's the price? You got a price point on something like that? Putting the back wall up?
Are you asking me?
Yeah. Have you had to price that at all
I
or
have
anything
not.
close to it?
I have not. But I mean, honestly, it's mostly plywood these days. So plywood siding on the other side and insulation and then framing on the other side. So it's not, I wouldn't take it to be
Not
that
that
expensive.
expensive.
Yeah, I wouldn't take it to be. That's something that wouldn't scare me. More so the area would scare me more so than anything else. I mean, what are you surrounded by? What's next door to you? That's what I'm also worried about. You know what I mean? So
Well, let's add one more variable in there. How
okay.
about the tree growing out from the basement?
Oh, now see that? No, I'm not touching nothing like that, G. I haven't touched that one. So that's a no go.
So, just lastly, what? How do you feel about the overall market in Baltimore right now? How do you feel about the market?
Well, it's a very different market than 2 years ago. I believe that there are several markets we're operating in. One is one is dependent on location. The next market is dependent on the level of renovation you're dealing with. The next market could simply be just a mindset from somebody else. We have sellers trying to sell their house for too much. The investor is paying too much for the house and then trying to resell it to the end buyer, which is the home purchase buyer, for too much. And the interest rate is too high. So everything is going at a premium. And, which is causing, at this point, with the interest rate being a lot higher, the end buyers want to buy something a little, they can't afford what they used to can afford. So they're not as many buyers at a higher price point, and which is causing a lot of probably irritation for the investors who was used to renovating a house, selling it in 1 to 2 days, under 3 offers in 1 week, to now going on the market and sitting 3 weeks to a month before they even get a contract, and who knows if they like that contract. With that being said, I mean, for the investors, it's probably not a great market. Probably not a great market for wholesalers. It's not a great market for anybody right now. I'll say that.
Well, I'm going to beg to differ a little, only
Okay.
because what you just mentioned, basically you just spelled out a normal market. 2019, if you go back and look at your deals, all of your deals probably close in 20 to 30 days.
Okay.
So what ends up happening is everybody looked at the pandemic sales, and they're remembering the pandemic sales because things were multiple offers closed in 10, 15, under contract in 10, 15 days. But
Mhm.
if you go back and you still have eat off the floor gorgeous, I guarantee you're probably, like you said, not, if you close it within 30 days. 30 days takes us back to a more normal market. Now like the homes that are not renovated, those may take 60 to 90 days. And that's why some of these sellers are on the fence and they don't understand. They call you, wait, well, what's going on? Well, you have to remember, it take longer to sell, but your mind is still in 2020, 21, 22,
Correct. Correct. A
when
mindset.
homes were
A
selling a little
mindset
quicker.
market. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so I think if folks just hold on to that and they understand, okay, because even to your point where you said, well, if you get a deal, you don't know if it's really for your market. It is, if you get the right deal. Now you're not rushing to have to sell it because it took longer to do the renovation, and it's going to take 30 days easily to sell it. If you're able
Well,
to if you're able to get that, huh?
no, go ahead. You finish.
If you're able to get that deal closed, renovation started, and then add that additional 30 days in, which before it wasn't 30 days, because as soon as you were putting it on the market, it was sold.
Mhm.
Then I think that the numbers will work. You just have to manage that renovation a little better to offset the holding costs.
So here, I do believe the market will be good again once everybody is out of the mindset of 2019, right? I believe everybody still wants over the top dollar when selling a property to an investor, which starts a chain reaction of everybody overpaying.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where the irritation comes in at. Buyers are reluctant to pay, top dollar for properties that they were paying easily in 2019. But once everybody comes to a better
Yep.
mindset of this is a different market and we have to reset our thinking to match this market we're in. Once that happens, I believe it'll be a good market for everybody, right? Sellers will sell their homes, investors will buy. house will get rehabbed and it will get sold to a reasonable price to home buyers. But until the mindset changes overall, the mindset, I think it's going to be a lot of irritation. But like you said, if you have eat off the floor gorgeous, it's still going to sell. And that's the part where I said micro markets, right?
Mm-hmm.
Markets within inside the micro markets, because one block may have eat of a gorgeous house and it may sell fast, and the next block over may have the same style house, but it may not sell as fast. You may have to lower the price. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So, in a nutshell, if when it, if the same thing with we talked about earlier, mind shift for you and any flip investors can also then mean something that you did very good with as well. You got to deal from is that you realize that you can get deals from wholesalers, but what if you go out and get your own deal, right?
Oh, well, that
May
makes
even take you,
yeah.
yeah.
That if you're finding your own deals and you're funding your own deals, you have probably cut cost by 20 to 25%, making that 25 or 20 to 25% all profit now. And that probably is where people who are still rehabbing, that's probably where they're finding the best deals right now. Or at least the deals that work in this market and is worth it at the end of the day.
Joseph, we appreciate you. If people need to get to you and talk to you more about real estate, how do they reach you?
You can look me up on Facebook at Joseph Jones, Joseph Jones / realtor, or you can get in contact with me through Instagram, BLK Belt Investing 6. That is B as in boy, L as in Larry, K as in kite, Investing 6 on Instagram.
Hey folks, this is another Hump Day Real Estate with Kendall. We enjoyed you. Hope you enjoyed, although we had some technical difficulties. We'll get Joseph back again. Thanks again, and we'll talk to you guys